Welcome back. So glad you're here. Today, we're diving into an explainer of some really fascinating source material that carries a massive, absolutely crucial warning. And this is specifically for teenage girls who are just trying to navigate the super complex world of modern health. We're looking at an excerpt from a highly specific text titled "The Critical Error in Female Wellness." And honestly, it promises to expose a major foundational insight. You know, it's not just another generic list of health tips you've heard a million times. It's a direct warning about a singular, foundational misstep that could literally be quietly undermining your well-being.
Okay, let's dive into this. What is the absolute biggest health mistake you might be making right now without even realizing it? When we think about wellness, we usually jump straight to the things we know we should do differently, right? Like maybe drinking more water or finally getting that extra hour of sleep. But the source material we're examining today suggests that there is a hidden wellness trap. It's a complete blind spot, a mistake so deeply ingrained in the daily routines of teenage girls that it goes completely unnoticed. So let's start unraveling the mystery.
All right, moving to Section 1, the wellness landscape. Let's look at the current environment.
If you're a teenager today, your wellness landscape is just incredibly loud. I mean, just think about it for a second. You open your phone and you are immediately bombarded with this endless stream of wellness myths, totally contradictory advice, crazy influencer routines, and flash-in-the-pan fitness trends. It's confusing, it's noisy, and frankly, it is completely overwhelming. But our source material, it cuts completely through that static. It completely ignores the hundreds of tiny distracting wellness trends and instead pivots to something incredibly specific. It essentially argues that instead of worrying about 50 different daily habits, your focus really needs to be drawn to one specific flaw.
Which brings us to Section 2, the critical error revealed. Let's see what the source actually says.
The exact title of our source text is "The Critical Error in Female Wellness." Now, the medical community uses the word critical for a very specific reason. This isn't just a minor wellness oops. Chronic underfueling is structurally failing the foundation of female health. The source clearly identifies that failing to consume enough nutrients and calories to actually support a growing, active body is the critical error. By framing it this way, the text is telling us that ignoring your body's need for proper fuel isn't just a bad habit. Actually, scratch that. It's not a habit at all. It's a foundational flaw that can absolutely devastate your energy, your hormones, and your long-term health if it's left unaddressed. And this brilliantly illustrates how deliberate the text is in calling this the critical error, not just a critical error. That definite article implies total exclusivity. It tells us that above all the noise and all those distractions in the wellness space, chronic underfueling is the one overarching issue standing in the way of optimal health. Think about it. Your body requires significant energy simply to function and develop right now. When you consistently restrict that energy, often because you're chasing misleading wellness trends, you're basically compromising your body's most basic operating system.
Let's move to and see how this builds in Section 3, the number one mistake. Here is where we establish the hierarchy.
This right here is the core excerpt provided by our source, the number one health mistake most girls make. It creates this incredibly strict hierarchy, putting this specific issue of undereating absolutely above any minor diet tweaks, exercise routines, or sleep hacks. If you're a young woman trying to figure out exactly where to put your energy to feel better, well, the source is literally handing you the roadmap. You cannot outsleep, out-exercise, or out-hydrate a fundamental lack of fuel. Addressing this has got to take the absolute top spot, no question. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we can break down the exact anatomy of this warning into three key pillars. First, it's ranked as the number one issue, which establishes its supremacy over all those other concerns. Second, it's classified specifically as a health mistake, meaning it's an active error, a choice being made, often driven by diet culture masquerading as wellness. But the third point? That is the most crucial: most girls. The source explicitly notes this affects the majority. It implies a highly widespread issue. Statistically speaking, if underfueling affects most girls, the odds are incredibly high that it affects you or your closest friends. It demands our immediate attention. Which leads us straight into Section 4, why this matters today. Let's talk about your personal wellness journey. So the crucial point is that our source material divides this reality very cleanly. We have a massive majority representing most girls who are currently making this mistake of unintentionally or maybe intentionally depriving their bodies of the fuel they so desperately need. And then we have the much smaller slice, the informed minority who manage to avoid it, actively choosing to nourish themselves adequately.
Empowering yourself with this information, that is the very first step to ensuring you pull yourself right out of that large slice and place yourself firmly in the smaller, informed slice of young women who are protecting their foundational wellness.
Knowing that the source text identifies chronic underfueling as the singular, critical, #1 error affecting the vast majority of teenage girls, how will you adjust your own wellness habits to avoid it? Are you ready to finally cut through the endless noise of social media trends and start questioning the real foundations of your daily health routine? Keep your eyes open, stay curious, and always make sure you are truly nourishing your body. Thank you so much for joining me to break down this explainer today, and keep striving to be in that informed minority. Catch you next time.